Tonight, the Biden administration is vowing to keep the most commonly used abortion pill available to women across the country after a Texas judge took a step towards banning it on Friday.
And also tonight, Governor Newsom says the state will stockpile the other pill used in abortions in case the ban in Texas takes effect. KCAL News political reporter Tom Witt is here to explain all these major developments. Tom.
Yeah, major developments, and it does get a little bit confusing because there's different rulings, right? So we're going to try to sort all this out for you. Governor Newsom says the state is buying 2 million doses of the other abortion pill called misoprostol, saying the state is preparing for a worst-case scenario.
And that's what part of being a reproductive freedom state means, right? Ensuring that people have access to care.
The director of NARAL Pro-Choice California praising Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to stockpile one of 2 abortion pills, misoprostol, after a Texas judge on Friday put a hold on the FDA approval of the most commonly used abortion pill, mifepristone, which was approved by the FDA more than 2 decades ago. The judge suspended his own ruling for a week to allow for appeal, which means for now, mifepristone is still available.
I think it should be very alarming to all of us that these rigged courts with judge shopping, that they can undo, right, 23 years, essentially at this point, of FDA approval of a medication. This is unprecedented.
Governor Newsom says the state has secured an emergency supply of up to 2 million pills in case the other pill is ultimately banned by the courts.
So what he's doing here is ensuring that regardless of the outcome in this case, even as it works its way through the courts, that medication abortion remains accessible in California.
Last week's ruling came after an anti-abortion rights group took the case to Judge Matthew Kacsmarik's court in Texas, claiming the FDA improperly approved mifepristone, arguing the pill poses a risk to patients. Judge Kacsmarik was appointed by former President Trump, and before becoming a judge, he worked extensively on anti-abortion rights advocacy. Is mifepristone safe?
There have been many studies done in over 100,000 women over 20 years showing that it's a remarkably safe drug. Doesn't mean totally safe, but it means very safe.
Making the issue even more confusing, a federal judge in Washington state issued an opposite ruling on the same night, all of which means the case is most likely headed to the Supreme Court. City and county leaders here in LA came together Monday morning at Planned Parenthood in South Los Angeles to reassure Angelenos women's reproductive rights are still protected here.
We are so fortunate that we live in a state like California and a city like Los Angeles where we do not have to worry most immediately about these issues.
For those in support of the Texas judge's ruling, Newsom's decision to buy a massive supply of the other abortion pill is not sitting well.
I think it really is sad that Governor Newsom seems so committed to providing abortion for the entire rest of the country that he's willing to spend taxpayer dollars on stockpiling medication, and also doing it in possible violation of FDA approval. I think it's just, it's a sad place to see where his priorities are at.
Jonathan Keller of the California Family Council says the state should spend more resources on adoption services.
To me, it's just sad that it seems like we talk about being a pro-choice state, but it seems like there's really only one choice that's acceptable to Governor Newsom and the legislature.
So just to be clear, right now, both abortion medications remain available, and the Biden administration is appealing the Texas ruling. But unless the courts put a hold on the Texas ruling, a ban could take effect on Friday. But that's why I think the governor is trying to take this measure.
To have the pill available here in California.
Exactly.
You know, the other question is just, as the person in your interview was saying, how can a ruling, what was it, FDA,
right,
20
FDA
years,
yep,
how can a ruling just upend what they've already done?
Well, that's what all the legal experts are saying. We talked to a couple of attorneys last week who said that who posed that exact question. And what will that mean about for a drug to treat Alzheimer's or other drug? You know, I mean, it could really make a precedence that could change the layout of how drugs are approved.
And because it is approved,
yeah,
which
20 years ago, yeah.
which already takes a long time to get approval by the FDA.
That's right.
You could just put something on the counter, right, but to have an approval by the FDA takes a
and Dr.
time
Egan,
itself.
you know, he says it's a safe drug. I mean, of course, nothing's foolproof, but he said, I mean, in terms of the medical issue here, that's why we wanted to talk to him, because it's a medical issue, right? So,
all right, like you said, it is complicated.
Yep.
Sure is.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.